There was a boy, a very strange enchanted boy. They say he wandered very far, over land and sea.
Hey, what's up, good people? What's up, good people? It's another episode of Moonku Kizi Talks. I'm just playing. Yeah, just wanted to do this video, talk about a few things, talk about some changes that I have made personally, you know, according to always where the Most High is leading me. So I got some things to say about this journey that I've been on in this current part of my life here on earth, you know. Sorry, I always got to do these talks in my whips, because my cool whips, because I got so many kids at the house. Must be loud and crying and running around and playing everywhere. So, you know, I'd rather be busy. It's also why I don't do or haven't done a lot of, you know, teaching videos, where I break down things a lot and all like that. I haven't done a lot of that because, honestly, right now, I'm in the hunter-gatherer season of just gathering information, sniffing things out like a hound dog, and following the scent and the spirit. And so I like to know what I'm talking about if I'm going to teach it and put it out there on the Al Gore's intranet. But at the same time, I have been posting a lot on my Facebook page. You know, a whole lot of information that cannot be debated. No, I'm playing. Just the Most High has been taking me in a season of evidence. So I've been, you know, pulling away from belief systems, you know, according to theories, theologies, you know, beliefs, things that can't be proven with evidence. I'm not about that life anymore. And that has been, every time I get awakened about something, I always feel like, you know, I can't believe how much the Most High awakens me. And I always think, this is one thing that I want to say too. What we need to stop doing as a people, as a highly melanated people, especially us over here in America. I'm specifically talking to my so-called Black Americans, my Aboriginals, my American native Black folks, whether you know it or not. Specifically, this message is especially for us over here. What we have to stop doing is letting everybody else feed us, you know, because the big thing about allowing every other nation to feed us, especially Africa, we begin to take on identities that are not ours, and it doesn't give us that complete fulfillment because it's not our identity, you know. As far as African Americans go, you know, I say that term just so y'all know who I'm talking about. As far as us Black folks out here, I know black isn't a real term. I know it's a color, it doesn't count, but I'm generalizing so that way Y'all know who I'm talking about. As far as us out here in the States and in North America, South America, and everything connected to the Americas, we've taken on so many identities because we were stripped of our identity the most and the worst. We've had it the worst out of every other dark race on the earth. There is no comparison to the way we are treated out here and the things that we have gone through and what we go through on a daily basis that has changed our mind and how we react and respond to the world. We've always had the influence, as far as recently, within the last 500 years, of white colonization. Now, I'm not just going to point out white people that they are the devil and all that, because that is not true. A lot of hidden history, if you get technical, there was about 500,000 freedmen in America during the 1700s, that, and a seventh of the whole population of freedmen during this time in the States owned slaves. And you know who those slaves were. So it's black on black owners of each other. That is all a bunch of stuff that I could possibly do a video about, but I don't want to. I would rather you guys do your own research and ask me for, the context clues, because I have all receipts. Anyway, so we've been taking on everybody else's identity, and certain things just haven't made sense. I have brothers and sisters in the Bantu belief and awakening, that get mad at me constantly about saying that, hey, a lot of us are not Bantu. It could be as much as 90% of us over here in America are not Bantu. And the problem with the response that I get a lot of times is I'm getting responses from people who haven't even done their own family ancestry, their own family history. They haven't even asked their own grandparents and aunties and great aunties and uncles who we are. Recently, I'm still blessed to have one of my grandfathers alive on my mom's side, and that's my California side. So I recently just came back from Cali a couple weeks ago, and I made it my mission to talk to my grandpa and ask him, get it straight from the horse's mouth. And I asked him my first question. I told him, I was like, all my grandparents are dying. My grandfather is 86 right now, and he'll be 87 in February. And he's my last grandparent. On my whole dad's side is the side that told me that I was Native American, and I was like, what the heck? That's the story I already told you guys, where he laughed at me for saying that I'm not Native. Oh man. And then he died next year after that, before I could even go visit him and get my whole family stories on that side. So anyway, I've been like, you know what? I've been on researching a lot on YouTube, and I barely use Google. I use other search engines like DuckDuckGo and things like that. But I've been finding out a whole lot. And everything that my grandpa said, it was crazy. So I recorded him, and I asked him, what does he know about us being Africans or slavery? And he was like, you don't know anything about slavery. Translation, when we say we don't know nothing about that, it means that's not our history. We're not familiar with that. And so I'm like, man, my grandfather was, he's a smart dude. And then he started talking about his life And so one thing before I get into that a little bit, I'm not going to start revealing my whole family name and all that stuff on that side. I'm not going to reveal that. But I will say that two things. One thing, talking to your elders, man, he was crying. Me and my sister were there. He was crying. He was so happy to, that somebody in the family, especially his grandson that looks just like him, was asking questions about the family. He was, he was tearing up. He was crying the whole time he was talking to us. We were talking for like about an hour or so. So I have actual documentation records of my names and all this stuff that a lot of black people don't have because we're not asking our family members. Instead, we'd rather trust the Bible and YouTube and all these people to tell us who we are. So, without putting the pieces together at home base and starting from here and going out. So, and a lot of people aren't talking about this truth because, like I was talking Bantu. And then all of a sudden, it seemed like all of a sudden that I just wasn't talking Bantu anymore and against it. When for me, it wasn't like that. For me, in the background, every day, I'm constantly researching and constantly asking questions and communicating with people here and there. And so when I publicly was like, I ain't Bantu, we ain't Bantu, this and that, and I was using terms like these are Bantu lies, a lot of my Bantu brothers and sisters like, whoa, why you gotta say that? Why you gotta say lies and all this stuff? And I had a talk with a couple people, and I shouldn't have used the word lies, Bantu lies. But what I meant by that is that there are a lot of lies that Bantus believe, Africans believe, and Americans believe, black Americans believe to be true. And we've all gone based on those lies and built kingdoms off of those lies, built imaginary systems and belief systems off of those lies. One of those lies is how slavery happened. I'm not a slavery denier. I just know that slavery didn't happen the way that it is taught. The way that it's taught to me, that's fourth grade, elementary belief system, and that comes from people not doing their own research and doing their own homework, including myself until recently, where I started going into the questions that I had, like, well, where are the slave ships? 12 million slaves? But Africa, nobody in Africa knows where we came from. I started having these questions. Nobody knows our tribal names. Like, we just forgot our tribal names, but we kept other secrets during slavery, but we just happened to forget where we came from in Africa. That wasn't passed down, and I started having those questions. I'm like, okay, something ain't making sense, and I started finding out why it doesn't make sense. Started getting the answers right away, and so it's those type of questions to where I just couldn't leave on the table and just keep going into a truth without doing my own due diligence. And this is not hating on anybody that is Bantu or African or anybody. This is just to say that we have to do our own research and find evidence, not just finding what sounds right and finding what fits this Bible scripture and what fits that Bible scripture, because there's a lot of scriptures that doesn't fit with the Bantu system and the Bantu belief. And when I listen to Bantu, when I listen to Zulu nations and all these Bantu nations that have kept their heritage and all that, they're not talking about anything Bible, and it's not because they just forgot who they are. So there's just things like that I've been piecing together. That was during my Bantu, when I was all Bantu. That was, all that I was starting to see when I was like, how come nobody else from the land is talking, anything related to this, So, and then you have, people saying that everything happened in South Africa, and it's like, man, you find Mount Zion in South Africa, and that's supposed to be evidence and proof. There's a Mount Zion like on everywhere on the map. So we got to learn how to do research. We got to learn how to study. We got to learn how to find evidence. That is the main thing. If there's no evidence to what you're saying, then it is a belief that can be proven wrong and most likely is wrong. So I've been finding evidence of who we are here in America. I've been finding evidence scripturally, and I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. Our pyramids out here, our culture out here, the foods we make, the way we talk, why we do the things we do, why we're different than Africans, you know, not just in appearance, but how we act, how we think. You know, when a lot of those slave revolts were happening, one of my things was, okay, if they're just all from West Africa, for one, they didn't seem like they cared about getting home. And for two, there's like one story about that. And for two, if there's 12 million slaves, so don't, you know, talk about, well, this person, no, that's one. And secondly, they knew, especially the Maroons. You start talking about the Maroons, the Seminole Wars and things, guerrilla warfare and all that. How did they know the layout of all these jungles so well? They knew what was poisonous, what wasn't poisonous. You think that they came over here from West Africa and settled, and they were slaves, right? And they were just allowed to roam the forest, and as long as they came back and did their slave work? Hell no. These people were aboriginal to the land, and that's why they knew the layout, where to hide, what plants to put on them to disguise themselves so they could take out them Spanish and them French. They knew what herbs to eat, what herbs to not eat, how much the herbs to eat. They'd make different medicines that you gotta drink. You know, they made this special wine that you'd have to drink 3 times a day if you have a tummy ache. You know, all these things that are native to South America, the Jamaica, the islands, especially Haiti. All these things that are native to there that aren't in West Africa. They're not even in Africa. So how do you explain that? You know, and if, you know, people want to say, oh, they were the ones that migrated here, you know, because Africa, you know, there was constant trade going on before colonization from white and black people. But at the same time, you're not just going to leave your land in droves and then settle in some other land and that's it. And then everybody in this other land is just either migrated there or was a slave, you know, brought on a slave ship. Nah, bro. Nah. And that comes from lack of understanding and lack of doing research on anything about America and American Aboriginal people. So anyway, I talked to my grandpa and he was like, we don't know anything about slavery. And I was like, my sister looked at each other like, whoa. And he was like, yeah, we didn't have slaves either. So I was like, oh, that was interesting that he said that. And so, you know, then I start going into that. And I'm like, oh, dang, there was a lot of black people that looked like us that had slaves. And we're prospering. And that's where you get a lot of that boule class and all that stuff. All that is deep. It starts, the roots of that start deep. So when those white folks were like, well, there was black on black, blacks selling blacks, they're actually right. I used to be like, man, these old racist white people, but they're actually right. There was a lot of people like us that sold blacks, and it would happen a lot over here. And the few, I think there's about maybe 5,000, 6,000 people that actually came from West Africa, because most of the slave trade went from the Americas to Angola, Sierra Leone, Iberia, and Cameroon, and Angola, and South Africa. Can't leave out South Africa. So I don't even want to get into that. I just want to kind of leave that there and let it simmer. When you see a lot of the native roots that are over there, and it's like, well, why does this person look like that? Because a lot of us are over there. I'll say it like that. One little key to how to do research: look at what the Spanish were saying. Pull up those documents, pull up those journals. Christopher Columbus, I got Christopher Columbus journals and everything. You gotta just get it straight from the sources. Stop Googling stuff all the time, unless you know exactly what to Google. And so, my grandfather was talking. He's like, we don't know nothing about slaves. We don't know nothing about that life. And I was like, dang. And slavery only ended, 200 years ago? The Emancipation, Proclamation. Little thing about that, there was already 500 freedmen before that whole emancipation thing happened. So that was a bunch of BS. So it's things like that. We have to go to our own elders and ask them. Ask them what's, I found out last name that I have that is French royalty. And before you start thinking white and all this stuff, nah, the French, the English, you got the Huguenots, you got the Moriscos, you got the Moors, you got the crypto Jews, you got the Sephardic Jews. A lot of us were swarthy, and we were running things over there. It wasn't just the Moors. And so, man, these videos that I've been watching, I heard one of my last names popped up that my grandfather gave me. I'm watching 5-hour videos a day. Actually, when I'm at work, all I'm doing is listening to videos and getting so many, just inundated with information and knowledge, and getting historical facts and evidences. So this is all I'm doing all day. So to me, this is nothing new. This is not new information, but when I put things out, it seems like it's new when y'all get it. But I'm watching a video that has I think it had 50,000, 70,000 views. This one of these guys shouted him out, Kudamero, UBTV, Condrop. These brothers are dropping hits. But I'm watching a video, and I have my family information from my grandpa's side, right? My mom's side. And the name that is in our name, he's talking about, he's breaking down my family in this video that he did, I think, a year or two ago. Maybe it was 5 years ago. I don't remember. But imagine how trippy that is. Now, if I had not asked my grandfather, I just would have watched the video. It would have just been some information to me. But, so we're missing out on a lot when we just say, oh, we're African, oh, we're Bantu. This scripture says, this scripture fits and matches, without doing any historical research. A lot of the stuff is not historical, and there's so many records out here. I'm tired of hearing this excuse of, oh, well, you gotta hear from our elders over here in Africa, otherwise you don't know anything, because everything's oral tradition. Man, that's some lazy cop-out stuff. To keep it real, that's lazy cop-out stuff. I'm not rocking with that oral tradition stuff, because you got hieroglyphs everywhere. I'm talking about, there's hieroglyphs in the Mi'kmaq tribe out here. There's hieroglyphs that match the Egyptians' hieroglyphs out here, and the Egyptians obviously over there in Africa, that little special little sect over there, they did hieroglyphs and everything. So I don't want to hear about, oh, well, you don't know the secrets because you're not here. Man, that's some bullshit. That's bull. So don't come to me telling me that, because first of all, white people record everything. These white Spaniards, these French, these colonizers, they were proud of what they were doing. So they weren't lying. They're like, they were talking all about it. These ugly black natives over here, they weren't lying, because they had to report back to their kingdoms. And so they had to let them know what was going on out here, what they were doing. They weren't going to spread false information back to their own lands, and to their people that needed to know, yo, come out here, go to this area, talk to these people, so I'm looking at historical records, getting evidence and all these things. So you can't tell me, this guy, Mukuikis, you can't tell me, which is actually not a Bantu name, which is pretty dope, because the Bantu brother that revealed that name to me got that in the spirit. And that's how I know he got it in the spirit, because it is actually an indigenous name. It's pretty freaking awesome what it means. But anyway, You can't tell me that everything is just orderly when it gets to a certain point. You know, I start proving some stuff. It's like, oh no, you don't know, because we didn't write this down. We may have wrote all this other stuff down, but we didn't write everything down. That's the secret. Okay, so what are y'all doing with the secrets right now? You know, I got a bone to pick. What are y'all doing with all the secrets right now? We out here, over here in America, killing the game since colonization, since the Africans that come over here and hate on us and immigrate over here and start hating on us and pooping on us, calling us all kind of names and all these derogatory terms. We're over here fighting for everybody's rights and still built this whole nation. You know, after things were stolen from us and they enslaved us out here and all these things, we still built, they stayed here. We went through Jim Crow, black codes. We went through all these things, and we're still the most influential people on the planet, on the earth, hands down. Africa. A lot of what I see from Africa is a lot of old warriors. We were old Maasai warriors. We were old Zulu Nation. We were old ancient warriors wearing leopard skins. All I see is this old stuff. Y'all are 90% black over there. And nothing is popping off on a scale that we got it popping out here with everything that we've gone through, all the oppression, suppression, all the cities that they bombed, where we were killing it, when we were creating cars and manufacturing things by ourselves. They were bombing, and we kept rebuilding. We never left. 10 toes down here. Ooh, don't get me. I'm so proud to be a black American. I'm so proud to be a black American. No, I'm just joking. But I am proud. You know, I'm proud of my heritage. I'm proud of who we are out here. And I want everybody else to be proud of who we are out here too. And stop tagging on to Africa. Because Africa is using that to their advantage. There's a lot of good people over there in Africa that I talk to. So I ain't talking about everybody. But what I'm saying is that when you have Ghana, you have the Ghana president doing what he's doing, you know, taking $80 billion from France, from Europe, on some COVID stuff. You know, when they're talking about, oh, you know, the year returned 2 years ago, 3 years ago. What happened with that? When you got places like fake Israel over there killing the game, talking about, hey, anybody who's Jewish descent, come through. We'll pay for everything. We'll set up shop. You don't have to pay taxes, nothing. You got that little fake Israel Jewish people doing that stuff for each other. But Africa, big old Africa, ain't doing what for us in diaspora. You know, if we're from Africa, what do you have to offer us? What are you giving us? You know, what are you saying? Yeah, come over here. Okay, what about bringing us over there? You know, if that's where we're from. But I reckon that your elders know that we ain't the same people. And that's why they're not offering that. That's why the presidents aren't offering that over there. The leaders are not offering that because they know. They know. They have to know. They've all been taught by European schools. So they know the truth. They're all they're all Freemasons. So they know what's up. So I wanted to do this video to just put that out there. You know, I'm not doing a lot of teaching videos and all things like that. It takes too long. I don't have time for that right now. I'm a busy man. But I just wanted to, you know, wet people's beaks out there, especially my people from here, from this land, America. Amadu Khan, that is an indigenous word. Unlike Africa, it's not an indigenous word. Our indigenous word, this is our land, Amaru Khans. Amadu Khan, that's where they get that name Khan from. It means kings, leaders, prophet kings, priest kings. The land of priests, black priests, clean kings with beards. Man, I get juiced when I start talking about my people out here. I get too juiced. So anyway, go ask your family who you are. Go into those last names you got. Not all those last names are white. Not all those last names you got from being a slave, They lied to you. They lied to you. It doesn't all come from slavery. There's a lot of our elders that be like, I don't know anything about slavery. I don't know nothing about that. It didn't go down like how they narrate the story. It didn't go down like that. So just listen to what I'm saying. Talk to y'all soon. Peace.